And now, your official TigerBait live show with Mike Scarborough starts now.
All right, welcome in another edition of TigerBait Live. Look who I've got in the house, Charlie Hanagriff, of course, 104.5, and longtime Baton Rouge talk show legend. And we've got a lot to discuss tonight. LSU with a huge win. And Charlie, I titled this show, LSU win over Clemson pivots the Brian Kelly era. And I think I want to see what your take on was on the win. But I really believe that this game is maybe, if you want to use the word reset, but I think this is a marquee, monumental win that really, I think, pivots the Brian Kelly era at LSU. I think regardless whether they go undefeated in September or not, I think this changes everything. I think it changes the way everybody views LSU. Fans that thought maybe he couldn't win the big one, might not ever win a championship at LSU. Now everything's in front of them. And certainly, I think, as we've seen the last 72 hours, the national media is viewing LSU very differently. I'm
going to disagree a little bit, okay? Not that this was not a monumental win, a huge win, but he's got to follow it up. And they don't have to go undefeated, but they do have to make the playoffs. And I say that because I've got reasons that I'm really bullish on this team. So I don't want to start with a downer, but I remember a game in 2022 when they beat Alabama and Nick Saban on the last play of the game, and the gutsy coach and the Heisman Trophy winner to be the following year and all that stuff. And it all went, when it went south in 2024, it went south. He's got to follow it up. Now, the reason I'm so excited about this team is this doesn't feel flukish. This doesn't feel fake. This doesn't feel like it's teetering on any one thing. It feels like a deep team. It feels like a team with all the pieces you need to win. It feels like a continuity in the coaching staff. It feels like a culture shift, all of those things. But no, he can't lose 3 games the rest of the way and have this era of good feeling stay with him.
My point is, even in the first year, the win over Alabama, that was, to me, was a game where anything can happen on a Saturday type of win.
Yes, and I wouldn't use the word fluke.
No, but
I would use the word unsustainable at that time because of where the program was. This is sustainable. Okay, now he's got to go sustain it.
I think it's more like where you're seeing now between after that win and knowing with everything that's in place staff-wise, the personnel, certainly whatever happens this year happens, but they're going to have to do it again in December in possibly a bigger way than they did last December to build next year's team. But this just feels different. I mean, this is a team that I think to me, is absolutely a national championship caliber team.
It is. And I agree with that wholeheartedly. I
wouldn't be thinking that had they lost to Clemson.
It would depend on how they lost to Clemson. Let's say you want to do a hypothetical here. Let's say on third down at the end of the game, Klubnik's got an open receiver, okay? He doesn't have time to get him the ball. But let's just say for a second that he did see him and he hits him and they score a touchdown and they go for 2 and they make it and they win. I would still feel great about this LSU team because I think they dominated this game.
And we'd be talking about the points taken off the board.
I would be talking about a flukish win for Clemson. And I would still think all the pieces were in place because I think LSU dominated this game in a way that the scoreboard doesn't necessarily indicate. So even if they had lost this game, I would still think, and I said it before the game, I got the pick wrong. I thought Clemson would win because they were at home, and I was wrong and happy to be wrong. But if I said before the game, I thought both of these teams were playoff teams regardless of who won, and I still believe that.
Yep. All right, let's dive in, everybody. If you're enjoying the show, please hit that like button. We're going to go for an hour. Share it to your social media. Give us a follow if you're not following us on YouTube or on our Facebook. Of course, we're also streaming it live on the official TigerBait X account, my personal X account, and so we have a lot. Let's I want to get some comments in here. Brad DeVee, good evening. What do you think of Tessitore as a commentator? Is he as worse as Danielson? Boy, he sure was having a field day at that Alabama game, and that was another. You segued that one for me. Are you enjoying this Alabama situation, Charlie?
Tessitore's a little over enthusiastic at times. I never had the problem with Danielson that most people did. Danielson and Vern Lundquist too, who by the way is one of the nicest people you'll ever meet in your life, always talk good about Alabama because Alabama was always good. Don't shoot the messenger kind of thing. And I know a lot of people didn't like him, and that's fine.
Same thing in recruiting rankings. They always thought the recruiting rankings were rigged when Alabama was number one every year, but it didn't typically prove out.
No, they were really good. I mean, what are they supposed to say, that the 11-1 or 12-0 Alabama team stinks? So I never had a problem with Danielson. I know a lot of people did, and that's fine. Am I enjoying their demise? Yes, absolutely. Because when you're on top for that long, the fatigue gets in there, the Yankee fatigue from the 90s or the Patriot fatigue, Alabama fatigue, very real. Now, for me personally, it's always been that way. I grew up with Bear Bryant, okay? I had this fatigue a long time ago, and it was just exacerbated by the fact that it was an ex-LSU coach that was doing that.
Brian Lazar posted on our message board, and he gave the numbers for Alabama throughout the decades when it was coaches not named Brian or Saban. And when you look at those numbers, it's pretty glowing how average Alabama football is outside of those two men. Two of the greatest ever.
Yeah, unfortunately, those two guys coached a combined, 40 years, 45 years.
Right.
So, you're approaching half a century there. But, they are a good program. They'll always be a good program. They may have a bad year here and there. They're not going to sink down to, Vanderbilt levels. Okay. And I know that Vanderbilt beat them last year, but to sustain what Saban did, what Bryant did, I think that was hard before. And in this landscape of college football, I think it's damn near impossible.
But what it does do, it gives Auburn an opening. We're seeing it a little bit in recruiting where LSU's going in the stale of Alabama and having some success and much heavier interest they had, particularly in the Mobile area and the panhandle of Florida. It gives an opening to everybody.
Well, Georgia took this opening about 7-8 years ago. I mean, they took people off of that staff. They took recruits out of that state. Yeah, that window's been open for a little while now. Just cracked when Saban was there.
Mm-hmm. Fire 3449 says, Mike, how'd you decide to use TigerBait as the name of your company? Fire, it was probably back in 2000. Got out a legal pad and wrote down possible names. And really, when you think about it and you associate anything with Tigers and LSU, there really wasn't that many good options. And TigerBait, the famous chant, that was the best one. And that was during a time when the internet first started and everybody was going out and registering names in the hopes that someone would need it and would pay big dollars for it. And
I remember that.
Yeah. And a guy that owned a trolling motor shop in Southeast Louisiana had registered it. And it was a negotiation of about 18 months with him to get the name.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Good guy. All right, let's see. LSU ranked third, but also ranked second by some. Blake Baker with an outstanding call for Perk to get to the quarterback, said Todd Davis, and Andy Whitaker says 11-1, book it. And
have you looked at that play that Perkins made to end the game? The last play that they ran. This was, and if you don't mind,
shot out of a cannon.
Yeah, but the design was beautiful. We did it on our film study last night. This is actually a double blitz from both inside linebackers that had them fan out. And Klubnik, both ends crash, okay? So Klubnik sees the linebackers. Weeks takes Weeks, who is on the play side, and Perkins, who is on the other side. When he lines up, you can see it from the end zone view, he is between the guard and the tackle. So he is helling back from where he ended up. And what they did was both linebackers took a step up. Klubnik sees this. He's a smart quarterback. And he thinks that they're coming there. But then when he sees the ends crash, he's got to think, I've got room to the outside. And then Weeks and Perkins cross. And Perkins ends up scraping all the way out into space where Klubnik thinks he's got room and doesn't. And then he closes, okay? So not only was it a terrific play by Perkins, it was a terrific design. And I think something you can't do with just anybody. Perkins on the play, is essentially, he is charged with contain because the end has crashed on the wide side of the field. Now they're on the left hash, so they're giving Weeks the short side of the field, and Weeks is really fast himself, but nobody closes like Perkins. He's in a right linebacker spot in between the guard and the tackle, and he is charged with contain on the left side, the wide side of the field, and he does it. That's amazing to me.
Yeah. In fact, I'm going to go watch it. Tell people how to catch that.
YouTube, our film study is the Handycast. Richard Dixon, former tight end, and Richard does a post game with me. We do a film study. We take about a dozen plays every week. We drop it on Tuesday nights. Go check it out. Search Handycast film study, and it's up there right now.
I take great pride in the fact in the pregame of that bowl game, that national championship game with Ohio State, I predicted that Dixon would have a big game.
Well, he'll tell you that he had 2 touchdowns and should have had a third, but Flynn didn't see him on the third one. Yeah, he had a monster night.
All right, everybody. We're here because of Pride Roofing, our title sponsor. Let's go ahead and hear from Mike and Alex.
Hi, I'm Michael with Pride Roofing.
I'm Little Alex.
Have you been affected by wind, hail, and tornadoes on the North Shore? Well, we're here to help.
Insurance claim, no problem.
We also have a new franchise location in New Orleans.
We don't build projects, we build memories.
Though you know Pride Roofing is the official roofer of TigerBait.com.
In fact, notify TigerBait and we'll give you a free roof inspection. And on top of that, you get a free year subscription. Remember to call us at 855-PRIDE-16.
That's it, 855-PRIDE-16. When you call for your free roof inspection, say TigerBait, and they're going to pay for you to have TigerBait Premium free for a year. They pay that bill. And so that's commercial or residential, any type of roofing you need. They always have about $2 million of shingles in stock. You're not going to be waiting. And, of course, licensed, bonded, insured they'll beat anybody's roofing bid by $150 if you have it on their letterhead. And, again, Baton Rouge location, main headquarters in Hammond, big on the North Shore, New Orleans, home of Thibodeau. They've got all of Southeast Louisiana covered like a blanket. And, of course, my buddy Mike Faraday, one of the owners, and a Broadmoor High LSU grad, been owning them my entire life. And trust me, they'll earn your business and you'll be happy with the product they give you. But we got a lot of Bama hating here and people enjoying the Bama. Let's see. Well, let's get to some of these comments. Stephen Miller says, what a duo, Handyman and Mike. Here's one. This. Mike and Hanagriff, do you expect Nuss to be greenlit for more deep shots versus Tech with Florida the week after? I think it was entirely game plan, but I think if there was one thing that I'm kind of scratching my head on a bit was where was Chris Hilton? It was basically what the defense was giving them. And
yeah. Clemson played too high about 90% of this game. And I all August I said, if Barry Brown and Chris Hilton are in the game, you are forced to play too high. You have to. And this opened up some things underneath, obviously, and Aaron Anderson had a big game. But the other thing was they didn't want to keep the ball in Nussmeier's hands for too long. His average get-off was 2.2 seconds, or a little under 2.2 seconds. So it was double thing. Too high, safety look, and they didn't want to keep the ball in his hands for very long. I think those things will loosen up as the year goes along. And the one time they did go, not the one time, just a handful. They go single high. They go deep to Barry and Brown. He makes the great catch. It gets waved off because of the call, but that's what you're going to get. If Nussmeier comes up there and he sees you single high and those cats are in the game, I think he's going to go over the top. If
you would have been told 1 turnover, 1 sack, and only 45 yards in penalties, would you have said that's probably an LSU win?
Yeah, I would have. Of those 3. Probably the sack total is the most surprising. I expected the offensive line to struggle a little bit more than they did. I thought they did a really good job, and I thought the game plan was good. What maybe we underestimated, we were out of practice a good bit together, is we questioned this offensive line, how quickly would they gel and all that stuff. We didn't realize quite how good the defensive guys that they were trying to block were.
And people would always ask that. People would ask that. Is it, well, maybe – the defensive linemen are that good.
We liked the defense. We everybody, hey, look, man, you can't look at this group and think they're not a lot better. They're deep, but we didn't know quite how good until that. And I think that led to some underestimation of the offensive line.
I wish Kyle Williams would talk to somebody. Maybe you can get him for an interview, but he's going about his business. I don't even think he has a Twitter account yet.
Does Kyle Williams strike you as a look at me, I want to talk and tell everybody?
No, but he deserves a lot of credit.
Of course he does. Kevin Peoples as well for that defensive line, but neither one of those guys are.
I just thought he needs a Twitter account just for recruiting.
That's your corner of the store. That's yours.
Yeah.
That's yours.
But I tell you what, I'm not throwing a lot of stones at Bo Davis, but I think these defensive linemen are enjoying being coached by him more than Bo Davis.
They certainly look good the other night.
A lot of it's the approach. You're talking about a guy that's how many years removed from the NFL? I mean, it's not like these guys were in kindergarten when he was last playing in the NFL.
Yeah.
They can go see recent film. All right. Perk is awesome. Great play. Spectrum Wellcare says the Handicast film breakdowns are awesome. Dr. John Sibley Butler says August 30 was also Huey Long's birthday. The governor wrote the fight song and touchdown for LSU. A good birthday present for the old governor. All right. How about that for some history?
I learned something today. I didn't know that.
This is a good question. You ought to know this one. Mike, will LSU be an underdog in any game this year?
If they played every game this week, okay, because the point spreads are going to fluctuate a little bit based on how many times you cover. I think they would still be, this is going to blow people's mind, but I think they would still be a small dog at Alabama. Mm-hmm. Right this second, I think they might be a 1-point underdog at Ole Miss, a 1 to 2-point underdog at Ole Miss. Now, if LSU covers against Florida and they cover against, they're going to the two runaway games don't really count as much. They cover against Florida. Let's say Ole Miss doesn't cover against Kentucky this weekend. I think they will, but let's say for a minute that they didn't. Then LSU might go up there as a small favorite. It's in 3 weeks. LSU's playing Florida. I think that they're favored in all of the home games for sure. They are a favorite. Oklahoma's very tough to deal with right now, okay? They had an impressive win in week 1, but they didn't play anybody.
Yeah, I don't know what to think of that.
Okay, so and that game's 2.5 months from now. So right this second, I think they're a small dog at Ole Miss. They're a small dog at Alabama, but by the time they get there, they could easily be favored.
Yeah. Was this the most complete weekend from being a guy in your situation, your fandom? Was there a better weekend and the Saints weren't playing to screw it up?
Right. Buddy D, God rest his soul, he used to do this stat about the number of times because in New Orleans, LSU, Tulane, the Saints had won in the same weekend. And from the birth of the Saints through when Buddy passed, you could count them on, it might have happened 30 times over 50 years or whatever it was. So without the Saints playing, and I don't really care about what happens with Tulane all that much. Yes, for LSU to win, for Texas to lose, and for Alabama to lose in the manner that they did, yes, this was a very good weekend.
Notre Dame.
I've lost some of my distaste for Notre Dame. All of my distaste for Notre Dame when I started my show back in the 90s was based on the fact that the system was rigged for them. It was rigged for big bowl games back when that mattered. It was rigged for television coverage back when that mattered. None of that stuff matters.
So many times they get in the playoffs with 2 losses.
None of that stuff really. None of that stuff really matters anymore. You know, the bowl games matter. They got into the Fiesta Bowl one year with 6-5 record. It just drove me crazy. That doesn't matter anymore. They were on TV every week when nobody else was. Well, everybody's on TV every week now. So a lot of my distaste for Notre Dame has faded over the years.
Yeah, I'm with you. My 2 are Texas and Alabama.
Yeah, now it is. Yeah, for sure. And for Alabama, okay, so you get a lot of Alabama.
And now Auburn's not on the schedule. By the way, I'm going to bring that back up to you. Mm-hmm. Okay, now it looks like Alabama's going to be in the wilderness for a while. All right. Well, it's also going to coincide with a 9-game SEC schedule and the likelihood that they're going to fall off and you're not going to play them every year.
Right. That's
how convenient.
Look, you're talking to a Saints fan who finally got out of the division with the 49ers when Steve Young and Joe Montana had retired. Let me talk about Alabama for just a second because I want to see what you think about this. I think the Kalen DeBoer era ended on Saturday. Okay, not officially, but I don't think he comes back from this. Now, it may take him another year to pay off the buyout, which is $70 million. One of these days, the athletic directors are going to learn. You want the job? Here's a 5-year contract. And
I don't think anybody's going to do those anymore.
Well,
I've been hearing rumblings that ADs will not be doing those.
At some point, they need to take a stand and say, you know what, we're not going to get – if you don't want the job, we'll find somebody else. It's not like we have to have you. There might be 1 or 2 coaches in the country that are worth that. You know, you might go give Kirby Smart 10 years, but, man, you count them on one hand. So, look, DeBoer doesn't have the political capital that Ed Orgeron had. Ed Orgeron had a national championship. Okay, maybe the greatest team in the history of college football, had a bad year, then halfway through the next year, he's fired. Gene Chizik, okay, won a national championship, Heisman Trophy quarterback, undefeated team, had a bad year, and then the next year he had another bad year, he's fired. Larry Coker at Miami, at worst, one of the top 5 teams ever in college football. And then he had a bad year and another bad year, and they fired him. This is just in the last 20 years. DeBoer has no political capital over there. For anybody to say, well, just 2 years? Yes, just 2 years.
And so let me ask you this. All right. When an athletic director and everybody in the building has got out their notebook and they're running numbers, what is the number which is too far beyond? And what number is like, I know it's an obscene number, but because of the people who do NIL and pay money to help us get players are going to walk? It's like, man, there's got to be some math geniuses in there with formulas to know that at some point you've got to eat it because it's a chicken or the egg on steroids.
I don't know what the number is. I mean, haven't we been saying that for a long time? You know, what wasn't it? I remember when Nick Saban got the job here, and you'll remember this too. They had it was facilities then, right? That was where all of this money was going.
Cox Building.
And they had just built the Lawton Room off the north end of Tiger Stadium, okay? And Saban got here and said, we need a football-only facility. And I thought to myself, well, they just built this, so they ain't building anything else for a long time. Joe Dean was still the athletic director. He was on his way out. And they're never going to build this. Well, they did, okay? And then they built one even better than that and one better than that. So it used to be facilities. Well, now it's NIL. And we always say, well, at some point, this arms race has to end. It never did. It never has. I don't know that it ever will. But I think the number varies from school to school. A&M swallowed $75 million for Jimbo Fisher. Every school can't do that. But I bet you Alabama does. If Kalen DeBoer goes 7-5 this year, they'll find $70 million.
Joe Montana said with a super chat, didn't know Haney would be here. Love it. Yeah, we're glad to have Charles in. Buddy will be back next week. He's got a speaking engagement tonight. Stephen Miller says, funny how 2 weeks ago betting sites were putting out props that Gruden was going to be the next LSU head coach for next year. Now, they're going to get rid of Alabama's coach. Now they're putting out numbers on him.
70 million, which again,
is it 70? Or I thought it was 60. I've heard 63. I've heard 58.
Okay. 63. Yeah. I heard 70, but maybe there's a little bit. It's a lot of money. Okay. Kentucky, Mark Stoops at Kentucky's buyout is $40 million. I didn't know that. Okay. Well, they were swallowing hard when they thought they would have to give Calipari $33 million to walk, and they actually care about basketball.
Can you imagine that Professor Asshat at LSU? You know what I'm talking about. If LSU bought out somebody for those kind of money, and
he would, and what happened the last time? He got all up in arms and nothing happened.
Yeah.
The athletic department's gonna do what they do.
Yeah. Dr. John Sibley Butler with a super chat says, given the pro structure movement of the game, I am predicting that coaches' salaries will be cut in half and the money will be diverted to the players. A player's game now, what do you think? I agree. Like, for instance, look, there's been some scuttlebutt. You might have heard it within the last year. When they spent $20 million last year, the thought has been that if BK wins a national championship, that he might not coach much longer. He wins a national title, don't expect him to go another 5 years.
That's fair.
And if that were to happen, my money says that Blake Baker would be the next head football coach at LSU.
Right. And is it necessary to pay Blake Baker?
No.
What? Let me ask you this. Let's say Kelly does retire. Give me a list of available coaches that are worth $10 million a year.
I played this game the other day with somebody.
Kirby?
It's always like, who in the SEC would you go for? I'd probably go for Drinkwitz, Missouri.
Do you have to pay him $10 million?
Probably
if you
not.
offered Eli Drinkwitz a job here at $5 million a year for 5 years, wouldn't he take it?
What is his Missouri salary?
I have no idea. It doesn't. It almost doesn't matter, okay? Because you can win here more than you can win at Missouri. Would you give Sarkisian that? Would you give pick somebody else? I'm serious. You know, the legends. You know, those guys that have got so many skins on the wall. The Nick Sabans, the Urban Meyers, the Mac Browns, they've all retired.
Yeah.
So who's your gold standard now? There's two coaches out there that have multiple national titles: Kirby Smart and Dabo Swinney. Neither one of them are going
and before
anywhere.
2-10 last year, Norvell was the hot guy that would have been on everybody's short list.
You go out and you make your own guy now, I think, because you have to keep that money for somebody. Kelly had 220 wins, I think, when they hired him. Okay, so he was worth that. Name me the other guys. Lincoln Riley got that gigantic contract. Do you think USC's, rethinking that? And the biggest schools, okay? If you just take a second and look at this, Oklahoma, giant school, hired an assistant. In fact, they've hired an assistant the last 3 times they've hired coaches. Georgia hired an assistant. In fact, they've hired an assistant the last 3 times they've hired coaches. Now here, can't believe we're talking about coaches, but here, because 40 years ago, LSU hired an assistant, it didn't work out. They can never hire an assistant again, which is stupid. Okay. It's stupid. Okay. So the next time they go looking for a coach, if you trust your athletic director, go find somebody. You don't have to pay $12 million a year for a coach anymore.
Sam Martigliano, Steve Spurrier. Who else was in that interview before Archer got it?
Mike Shanahan.
Mike Shanahan, that's right.
Mike Shanahan.
Now, did Mike Shanahan actually come to town? There's been some debate on that. Did he actually sit down and have an interview? Or was he just on the list?
I don't know.
Yeah,
I couldn't tell you one for sure.
The Joe Dean years, everybody.
I was still in high school.
Yeah. Thanks for that super chat, Dr. Butler. All right. Let me pay a bill real quick. And, of course, we're here each and every week. The official electrical company of TigerBait.com, Dykes Electric. And they're the official electrical company of TigerBait.com. No matter big or small your electrical needs might be, Dykes is wire for success. If you need a brand new 10-story office building, they can wire that. A 200,000 square foot warehouse that you need built, they can wire that. Expanding your existing commercial building, changing out an old breaker, an electrical panel, receptacle, upgrading the old lighting in your home or office, they can wire that. Give them a call today at the number on your screen, 225-216-9180 for a free estimate on your project. And please let them know that TigerBait sent you in. And good, great Baton Rouge, locally owned and operated company, and absolutely huge LSU fans. And I need to tell you about the great new oyster spot in Baton Rouge. That's Bay's Oyster Bar, downtown Baton Rouge. And they've got the best oysters coming your way, 315 North Boulevard. Farm-raised oysters from Grand Isle. No mud, no grit, just clean, delicious flavor. If you're not into oysters, swap in boiled shrimp or try their turkey brie and bacon sandwich. I absolutely love that one. Or their classic roast beef po' boy. They have a fully stocked bar complete with top-notch bourbon, whiskey, and a massive craft beer selection. So don't miss out on Baton Rouge's newest oyster spot, and let them know that TigerBait sent you in. Of course, that's the old Jolie Pearl, downtown Baton Rouge. They sunk a lot of money in it, and it's the food is off the chain. You got to go there, Charlie. It's good stuff if you like oysters.
I do like oysters. I've spent a good bit of time in that building.
Yeah, they remodeled it a bit, and it's that turkey brie and bacon po' boy is out of this world. Okay. Yeah, Todd Davis says, rest in peace, George Raveling. I saw Kim Mulkey posted about him earlier. He had a connection to Dr. Martin Luther King. Yep.
George Raveling was such an influential coach, but he was also his post-coaching career might have been even more influential between he and Sonny Vaccaro in the Shoe Wars. That
great documentaries
really did shape college basketball for its heyday. That run through the 80s and 90s and into the 2000s. George and Sonny, who were at one time the best of friends, and one of them was the best man, the other one's wedding. I forget which way it went. And then they had a big falling out. And the ABCD camps and everything else, the McDonald's, the All-American games, not the McDonald's game, but the other games, all of that. George Raveling was right in the middle of all.
How close was Dale and him?
I don't know. That's a good question.
They had to have been with John Williams, right?
With John Wooden?
John Williams.
With John Williams. Oh, John Williams when he was – I'm trying to remember.
Tito Horford.
Was Raveling at USC when Williams was at Crenshaw? Or I think Raveling might have been at Iowa at that time. Because they got Williams in 83. I think he committed and started in 84. Raveling might have still been at Iowa at that
I remember
time.
him riding through campus when I was a freshman at LSU in a reddish Cadillac with gold emblems.
John Williams, don't take this the wrong way, but John Williams physically looked like, in 1983, looked like LeBron James. He was 6'8". He was 230 pounds. Now, he wasn't the player that James was, okay? But at that time, they used to play something called knockout, which was on the Crenshaw playgrounds and the outdoor courts out there. And knockout was full court one-on-one. And John Williams could play full court one-on-one. He could handle the ball. He could muscle you up. He was a physical specimen. Now, everybody remembers that he ate his way out of the NBA and they called him Hot Plate. But when John Williams got to LSU's campus, everybody went, ugh.
LSU had a few of those.
Oh, my. What he like I said, he was 6'8". He was 240 pounds of muscle. And I remember one of the first games I was watching. I wasn't in the Assembly Center, but he was a freshman. And John Williams took about an 18-foot jump shot. And this was before the three-point lane. And one of my basketball friends jumped off the sofa. He's like, "You better put his ass in the paint right now," because nobody could guard him. And he was a stud on that Final Four team. Yeah.
And he's, to me, unless I've missed it, when you've had these returning players, I don't know that he's ever been back. Unless I may ask a question for Kent Lowe, but he's kind of those one of those where are they now things for sure.
I don't know.
He was one of the greatest recruits ever to come to LSU. And led LSU to the Final Four in '86. Ellis Joven. Well, Mr. 9-3. I told you 12-0. Yeah,
I hope he's right.
No, what was your season prediction?
10-2.
I was 9-3, but I told y'all, and I did it. I opened the show. If they beat Clemson, I was going to go right to 11-1 in my revision. I skipped right over 10-2. What did y'all think of TCU and that beat down of Belichick? That's expected. You can't have that many new players, and I don't care. He's not that magical.
I was surprised at the lack of effort. I thought that their effort on defense was really bad. If you just can't make plays, and they turned over 70 kids. He turned over more kids on that roster than Deion Sanders did at Colorado, and Deion took an enormous amount of crap for that. Belichick didn't, okay? I was just floored that they were not more energetic, that they were not more fundamentally sound. I didn't expect them to have athletes from pillar to post, but I was shocked at the effort. That was surprising to me.
Yeah.
Since you said 11-1, can I ask you a question? Do you think that the days of undefeated college football teams, if not completely over, is extremely endangered?
It certainly will be with a 9-game SEC schedule.
I'm not just talking about the SEC. I'm talking about for everybody, because I think it is.
Somebody's going to do it.
No. But I think it'll be the exception. Like if you look at the national.
So how many has there been in the last 25 years?
I'd have to go back and look.
2, 3?
No, Alabama did it, twice under Saban or once under Saban? Went undefeated. LSU did it in 19. One of Clemson's teams was undefeated.
Okay.
They were the first 15-0. Auburn did it with Cam Newton. No, there's been a bunch, but from say 1970 to 2020, okay, because this is the new era we're into. So over a 50-year period, I think the national champion was undefeated 80% of the time, maybe even a higher number than that. I think now the number of undefeated. I think you might get one undefeated team every 5 years.
Well, with 9 games, conference schedules,
plus a Power Four,
right, and plus scheduling the power, like you said,
and 3 or 4 playoff games and an SEC championship game. If that game survives, I think you're going to get one undefeated team maybe every 5 years, moving forward. Period. The whole country.
I think you're right. Brad DeVee with a super chat. Charlie, if the defense stays as dominant, will Blake Baker get a head job at a top-tier program, or will he take a job like Tulane?
No, if Blake Baker, if they are if they win a national championship, Blake Baker will get and then he comes back next year, maybe one more year, he'll get a Power 5 job. Dave Aranda got a Power 5 job. Bo Pelini got a Power 5 job. He'll get a Power 5 job. Will Muschamp got 2 of them.
I personally would like to see some sort of plan in place where he's a coach in waiting.
I'm dead set against coach in waiting. And it's got nothing to do with Baker. I'm dead set against coach in waiting because circumstances change. And I saw it backfire on too many people. Well, Muschamp, okay, that backfired on 2 schools. I can't tell you. I wish I could. I wish I could tell you exactly.
And Jimbo with Bowden.
Yeah, I wish I could tell you. Well, now Jimbo won one. Okay. I wish I could tell you what the landscape looks like in 5 years. I don't know. Coaches' reputations take rises and falls. Programs are in different situations. It's hard enough to hire a coach when you have all the information, where your program is and where he is, much less trying to project 5 years out.
Regardless of whatever happens, there'll always be a draw to LSU for him because of family and ties.
This is a really good job.
Yeah.
If Brian Kelly retires the day after the season is over, the list of people that would want this job is from here to the Gulf, okay? I mean, this is a highly attractive job for so many reasons. Yep. So you're not going to have any problem filling it one day.
And now I'm hearkening back to what year would that have been where I heard Gordy Rush say that it was no bigger of a job than Purdue.
Ooh.
That would have been in the 90s.
Wow. One of the Joe Tiller years? I don't know.
Yeah. If that was it.
It was
because people were putting Cowboy Tiller on the list.
Tiller was a great coach. I mean, how many other coaches have won
Purdue
the way
saying,
he did? How many other coaches have won at Purdue the way Tiller did?
Yep.
I mean, he was an innovator. He brought an offensive style to the Big Ten that nobody else was doing at that time. No, Tiller was a great coach. I don't know that the Purdue job's a great job. I know it's not a great job now.
But a lot of people always thought that LSU fans were crazy to think of the possibilities here, and it took Saban to do it, and Mark Emmert.
Yeah, it did.
No thanks to Joe Dean in that wasted time period. Yeah, American Patriot. I've always been impressed with Gus Malzahn. He picked Bama like a chicken wing. They've had a lot of fun with that, Malzahn, and images of him and memes and so forth. And
Gus is always, I've always liked Gus as a play caller. I've always thought he was a really good play caller. And when he has a mobile quarterback, Castellanos has some similarities to Nick Marshall, back in that, back in that era when they got to the championship game and lost to Florida State. He's always done a good job with those guys. I like Gus as a play caller an awful lot.
Is Hanagriff still traumatized by Dennis Allen succeeding Sean Payton?
I just I'm traumatized by most of the things that Mickey Loomis does because I don't think he's operating in the same landscape as everybody else he thinks he is. Now they are rebuilding. They can call it whatever they want, but they're rebuilding now. And I thought bringing in Thomas Dimitroff earlier this week is a step in the right direction because Mickey's been a poor drafter. He's been a poor handler of the salary cap. He's been a poor evaluator of as a head. Well, he's only made one hire. I don't want to say he's done that a lot of those things, but he picked the wrong guy to succeed Sean Payton, and he stayed with him. You know, he wanted to stay with him longer. The owner overruled him, so I don't have a lot of faith in his leadership.
Yeah. Stephen Miller says, Mike and Charlie predict Sunday's headlines. Who's the bigger story? Bryce Underwood winning in Norman or Mateer shining in the win?
Wow. I watched just a little bit of Michigan and New Mexico. Bryce Underwood looks the part. Okay. Everybody's steamed because he jilted LSU, and I get it, but you look at him, if he had done what he did there, in a win for LSU, everybody would have been, wow, look at this kid. He's got exceptional physical skills. He's going to make some mistakes. What I think is that Oklahoma wins this game because why? Well, it's Mateer's first. It's Underwood's first start on the road. Go down the list of quarterbacks making their first starts on the road. The only guy that might be hyped more than Bryce Underwood is Arch Manning, who made his first start on the road. It's tough, man. Next year, if LSU has a quarterback that hasn't made a start on the road, wherever that first road game is, it's going to be tough. So I think the more likely headline is that Oklahoma, I don't know how well Mateer is going to play. If Garrett Nussmeier had gone pro last year, and we were fairly certain he wasn't, but if he had decided to, John Mateer would have been at the top of LSU's list. I mean, the very top. They would have probably gotten into a fairly significant bidding war because he was up there.
Right.
I believe that anyway.
They're going to be in a bidding war this December. They got to get somebody.
Eli, come on home.
I joked around the other day. I said, maybe they can go and get Bryce Underwood in December. I mean, we see quarterbacks. I'm still amazed when I see TJ Finley at his 7th school.
Come on, doesn't Eli Holstein fit what you're talking about for a 1-year bridge quarterback?
Maybe. There's a Joe Sloan connection there. How does that stand with that family?
I don't know. I couldn't say. I'm just looking at you. He would have 1 year left. LSU would need a 1-year bridge to get him to 27. I've heard sillier ideas.
Todd Davis with a super chat. Mike or Hannity, can you either of you clarify that Saban wanted to go back to LSU but was told no because of Miles? Yeah, when he realized that the Miami thing wasn't for him and he wanted to go back to the college game, he inquired.
Okay.
But there was a no-go. You just couldn't.
It's not like he can't. This story has
know what you know now, you would spend the money.
Well, sure. Okay. This story's been blown a little bit out of proportion. Okay. And I've talked to Skip Bertman a lot about this. Was there an inquiry made? Yes. Did Nick Saban call to go, please give me my job back? No. I would do anything to go. No, it wasn't like that. Here's another story a lot of people don't know. After Saban got the job here, he took the job sight unseen. He had not been here. His wife had been here, but he hadn't been here. He got here, and a day or two after the first press conference, he was like, I made a mistake. Okay. This was the undercurrent. I mean, never really got out there. It was like, I don't know if this is going to work. And when we did his Hall of Fame thing, Terry kind of, he was telling the story that he was talking with his wife, like, man, look at these athletes, but the practice field's way over there. We got to get on the bus. We got no money. This is a mess. Did I make a mistake here? But he got over it. He got over it like a couple of days later.
But what was Michigan State's facilities?
Well, better than what he had here, I guess, or at least in his mind, it was. Remember, he had spent 5 years rebuilding that thing out of probation. He had 4 kind of mediocre years, and then the last year he went 10-2. But there was an undercurrent of, and we heard it. It was like, I don't know if this is going to work, man. Maybe I've made a mistake. And a couple of days later, he got over it, and that was the end of it.
I know, but by the way, he made LSU, but LSU also made him.
And he was ready to be a big-time head coach. He was going to take an opportunity somewhere. If it wouldn't have been LSU, it might have been Alabama a year later. It might have been Georgia 2 years later. But he was going to take one of those type of jobs.
I mean, let's remember back. He was the guy that we were all making fun of in the Independence Bowl.
Because LSU had more athletes than they did.
He was a cranky ass with that needed a dentist.
And
of course, now he's got a full row of veneers.
And he had the Coke bottle glasses, and he was abrasive. And Jerry Dinardo wasn't. Jerry Dinardo was very accommodating of the media. There was a love. There weren't that many of us either. I mean, you got to LSU practice. Now you got 60 or 70 members of the media covering it. Back then there were like 10 of us. And so you could have kind of I don't want to say an intimate relationship. You'd have a close personal relationship with the coaches where you could talk to them after practice and all that. Those days are way in the past. But Dinardo was very accommodating to the media here. He was everything that Curly wasn't.
Then he got paranoid.
And then we went to that Independence Bowl, and they're doing this side by side, and Nick was, abrasive is a nice word. He wasn't even the worst one. You remember the worst one? Were you in the Peach Bowl press conference when George O'Leary was the coach at Georgia Tech? He was the biggest jackass. And Saban was the LSU coach. And somebody asked a question about it might have been about Brandon Winey, whose status for the game was in question a little bit. And O'Leary looks at Saban and goes, "They ask you these questions all the time?" And I'm sitting there going, "Yeah, you jackass, because we actually care about what happens with the football program. You're in a pro town. Shut up." Okay. Mm-hmm. And of course he had his own problems later down the road. But Saban in 95 was a sweetheart compared to O'Leary in 2000.
Yeah, this. Louisiana wasn't over the moon when Saban was hired from Michigan State.
They were not.
Oh, no, there was a whole lot of
They were not. He's a Big Ten coach. He doesn't know how to coach
in
the
SEC.
SEC.
No, and it wasn't man, you remember, I remember trying to fill out some of those recruiting classes, and you had kids lost a kid to Tulane, lost one to ULL, a couple, it was like, what the hell,
You were at the first press conference for Saban, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so what I remember was Curly was a disaster. A little context. Curly was a disaster. Dinardo came in, had the mother of all press conferences to bring back the magic. I mean, he could have hosted the Oscars that day. He was phenomenal. Saban came in, and he was kind of like, "Look, man, I ain't into the bring back the magic, and I ain't into the white jerseys, and I ain't into, eating jambalaya and gumbo and whatever. I'm here to win football games. That's really, this is his exact word. This is your program, okay? I'm the coach." That was a real shock to people who wanted to hear another Dinardo press conference. And Saban was like, "Look, man, I'm the coach here. I'm here to do it." And everybody, "Oh, man."
I remember the guys that ran the Michigan State website telling me over and over again, "You're going to get sick and tired of all year long and every December rumors about him leaving or interested in another job." And it did.
And we knew that would happen too. But what I remember was thinking to myself, "Hey, you know what? This guy has got a lot of Bill Arnsparger to him. And Arnsparger wasn't here that long. He's a damn good coach." That's what I remember.
Yeah, I remember that too. Yeah, American Patriot. Charles has some great stories I've never heard before. I'm scrolling up here. I want to find something here. Dr. John Sillybutter, let's remember that Bama beat Georgia last year and then lost to Vanderbilt the next week. What does Louisiana Tech bring to Tiger Stadium? Got to get our feet back on the ground. I think because it's the home opener. And I think there's some guys that are ready to show something that they didn't get to show Saturday. Look, you can respect that team, but LSU should do what they want.
I think LSU win the game comfortably. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a little sloppy. I would be surprised if they were flat. They came back from USC last year in Vegas. They were flat against Nichols. I'd be surprised if they were flat. It'd be a little bit sloppy, maybe. I could see that. The game against Florida, This is a classic sandwich spot. So I don't think LSU will be in any danger of losing the game, but I could see where, it's a little bit sloppy to start. Maybe not. Maybe they'll blow the doors off from jump, but I wouldn't be shocked if it was a little bit sloppy.
All right, everybody. Genesis of Lafayette. You see it on the screen, and go check them out. You got to test drive the GV80, the GV70, and of course, they're your premier luxury dealership, offering the finest cars and SUVs in the region, and huge inventory of new and certified pre-owned Genesis vehicles. There's a reason why they sell more Genesis vehicles than any other Genesis dealer in the state of Louisiana. 6600 Johnson Street. And go to genesisoflafayette.com or call them at 877-856-2961 and let them know TigerBait sent you in. Great interest rates. They've got 2.99s, 3.99s. They've got some new rates that are coming for September. Again, huge LSU fans over at Genesis of Lafayette. And Struby's, downtown Baton Rouge. You see that big cowboy ribeye on the screen. Of course, they got a great Wagyu New York strip. Book your reservations at Struby's, at Strubys.com. 107 3rd Street. They have got a 5-star dining experience, USDA prime black Angus, 100% certified New York strip. They got the dry aged pork chop, the black truffle lobster pasta, redfish, duck Louisiana, and steak Diane. And again, great dessert menu. Appetizers, get the lamb lollipops, and make sure you get the crawfish mac and cheese is one of your sides. Really great food at Struby's, downtown Baton Rouge.
You get them to cater this thing, I'll come back.
I'm getting hungry now. Well, that's always the treat when I go do Charlie's show. Every day, him and Jimmy are at a great lunch spot, and I jump when he says, "Can you come do the show?" Because I know I'm gonna get a great lunch. Let's see. The LSU Monster. What if LSU beats Notre Dame in a playoff game? How would the CFP world react? I don't think probably any different than any other win in the playoff game. They're all this.
I get what he's asking.
Because of BK.
Yeah.
Right over my head.
Last year when Notre Dame makes it all the way to the final, he took a beating, in the media on that. I don't know. I don't think if Marcus Freeman makes it back to the playoffs after making it to the national championship game a year ago, he's done a really good job. Okay. So I don't think he gets dinged the way Kelly got, dinged for not making the playoffs. How much credit would Kelly get? Depends on how good Notre Dame is this year. I mean, if Notre Dame sneaks into the playoff as a 10-2 team that, ends up playing a softer schedule, not much. If Notre Dame wins out from here on out and they get to 11-1 and they look really strong, then he'll get more credit for it.
Yep. More H says he's going to Struby's Friday. Awesome. Thomas Schroeder, are we resting anyone banged up for Florida? Not that I'm aware of.
No, Dustin Hill's got the hand thing, but he only played a couple.
I think he said he'll be able to practice next week.
Yeah, I'm curious. Carius Kern, I would like to see get in the game this week. He sat out the last scrimmage with some tendonitis. I don't think he played any the other night. And I know he didn't play any snaps from scrimmage. I don't think he got in on any special.
What about PJ Woodland, man? My two were like, where was Chris Hilton? Of course, that was game plan and what Clemson was doing, but not seeing Stamps at all.
That was surprising. You know what I thought when the AJ Halsey story came out, I said it's a damn shame they didn't know about this weeks ago, because what you might have been able to do, now this is what I was thinking before the game, is PJ Woodland could have gone and played that other corner, and Mansour Delane, who is capable of playing safety, could have filled in for Halsey the first half. As it turned out, they didn't need to do any of that. Woodland reminds me so much of Rashard Robinson, about 165 pounds. If they're wearing a belt of wrenches, but they will hit you. You remember when Robinson, they played a game against A&M, and he was matched up with Mike Evans, who had probably 3 inches and 40 pounds on him, and Robinson just beat his ass all day. That's what Woodland reminds me of a little bit. He's
He's
physical
tough.
kid for about 165 pounds, but he'll hit you. And that blitz was a thing of beauty. Again, the design and the execution of it, because the end, who I think was Pyburn, flattens out. He's way up top. And the running back who's supposed to be on blitz check is looking inside. Is looking outside. He's thinking if there's something coming off the corner, it's going to come outside. Well, he checks. There's nobody there. So he looks to the linebacker to see if anybody's coming up the middle. So he's still going to get in his route. Never occurred to him that they flattened Pyburn out to bring Woodland back inside. And he comes storming in there. The back misses the check, and Klubnik's got no chance.
Yeah.
That's in film study too.
Did you enjoy BK yesterday with his fire back at Dabo and really kind of giving him a cold shoulder and the handshake Saturday night?
I think he's probably still steamed about the Halsey thing.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. He's Dabo is. I'm not dating myself because if no matter your age, you've seen it. The Brady Bunch episode of Bobby when he was the hall monitor. That's what Dabo Swinney is. He's the hall monitor. He debriefs all of his recruits and wants them to tattletale on all their visits elsewhere and tries to nail other schools, and he turns schools in. He's a brat. He's a punk.
This was a failure on LSU's part. I'm sorry. Okay. That game was on TV. All of this information was readily available to them. They have a staff of 100 over there. They got more staff than they got players. Somebody should have caught this.
Right.
I'm sorry. Okay. You blame Dabo if you want, and you can think of it what you want, but this was on LSU. If Kelly's pissed at him, he ought to be more pissed at his. He's got an entire.
Now, what
front
happens?
office.
What's happened if it hadn't been caught and he played?
I've been asked that, and I don't know.
And it got uncovered this week.
I don't know. I can't think of an instance in college where an ineligible player played and they were forced to forfeit games for it. It happens in high school.
Or would they be nice and say, "Oh, he just has to sit out the first half against Louisiana Tech"?
I don't know. I don't have a good answer to that. I don't.
Yeah.
But LSU should. If Kelly's pissed at Swinney, he really ought to be pissed at Austin Thomas and his staff for not catching this. I mean, I'm sorry. They got enough of them over there. This game was on television. If you run the paperwork, and by the way, I've seen the form. You're supposed to disclose if you've been suspended for anything at any point. So somebody missed this. Okay, it's LSU's fault. Don't kill the messenger.
So it's like getting buying a used vehicle and they didn't disclose.
No, I'm telling you, I've seen the form. I haven't seen Halsey's paperwork. Okay, but Houston knew about it. I mean, they found out about this. This is one phone call. Okay, this is the game was on ESPN. It's on YouTube. I'm sorry. You got enough staff. This is on you.
Yeah, but
you can call Dabo. Both being a little bit petty.
Both can be true.
Yes, both can be true.
Yeah. But they did well without him.
I gotta hand it to Jordan Gilbert because we gave that kid a lot of grief last year.
Absolutely,
he didn't play well, and I know he was hurt.
PJ Woodland got grief. DJ Chester got grief.
And I didn't know that Gilbert was hurt until after this season. But look, the safety play wasn't good a year ago. He held up fine in that first half. In fact, I thought he played well. I thought he played really well.
All right, I got a couple more I need to do here. Alumni Hall, everybody. Just absolutely great stuff over there. And you see it on the screen. They've got all the national championship gear and the latest polos and all the stuff that you want. And beautiful store in Perkins Row. And Nike, all the stuff that the coaches are wearing, Champion, Johnny O. They got the new Nike shoes that were released last week. Go to their store in Perkins Row. Use code TigerBait. In store or online, all one word TigerBait. You're going to get 10% off every time you buy something, and you cannot beat that. And if there's something you want with an LSU logo, if Alumni Hall doesn't have it, nobody does. And again, they're just great people, and they're big in the NIL space. They're doing it the right way. They have athletes over there to sign autographs, and free shipping on all orders over $99. And the Hall Pass rewards for every $150 you spend. You're going to get $10 reward for future purchases. Buy your LSU gear at alumnihall.com. And again, use code TigerBait. and Capital City Grill. Home game this weekend. You see it on the screen. That's the Eggs Benedict, and then there it is, the chicken and waffles. It's the best in town. If you've got a room, hotel downtown, hit their brunch on Sunday. They've got a fantastic brunch from 11 to 2. Get it on the way out of town, and they really want to earn your business for all your anybody in town from Friday through Sunday at Capital City Grill or Struby's, like I said earlier, or Bay's. All of them great restaurants. And Capital City Grill, of course, is great for lunch during the week. Hamburgers, club sandwiches, located at 100 Lafayette Street. All right, let's see. Bo Swindle says that Louisiana Tech victory this weekend would be covering the spread. I don't even know what the spread is. Have you looked at it?
38. 37.5, 38. The total is 51 or 51.5, which basically means 44-7 is a reasonable score.
What's the over under again?
51 or 51.5.
Would you touch that?
I wouldn't. I typically do not lay any action on games with point spreads this big, because it most of the time it comes down to what kind of mood is the coach in, and what are your backups motivation levels and things like that. And it's not the only way I play a game like this is if I actually really like the underdog and I think they can be competitive, which I don't think here. So the game's not worth wagering on to me.
Bo Swindle, Ashton Stamps getting passed over shows you the depth we have at cornerback. DBU is back, or cornerback U, as he says it. Look,
Pickett got 20 snaps, I think, or 24 snaps.
They've got depth everywhere. There's only a couple of positions, quarterback and running back, where you're fearful of something happening. But if you tell me those two guys are going to stay healthy, this team has every ingredient to be a national championship.
And I think the running back depth will come along. I think in a month, Harlan Berry will be ready to play.
And I think we're supposed to, I was told by several sources last week that JT Lindsey is going to be cleared pretty soon.
Okay. And I'd like to see him get a little something out of Caleb Jackson. But, Jawan Johnson, I know they used him out on the perimeter this week. He can go back there and take some snaps. Xavier Thomas can take some runs. I'm less concerned about – now, look, Durham would be a huge loss if they lost him, but I think they've got other guys. No, the one guy they can't lose is Nussmeier. Yeah. Everybody else, they could make do for a time.
All right, well, Charlie, tell everybody how they can watch you and Jimmy and listen every day in your Handycast and the podcast.
Yeah, we're on from 11 to 1 every day. We're on at 10 o'clock on Mondays and Fridays. We do an extra hour. We're on YouTube. You can get us 1045ESPN.com, LouisianaSports.net. We are live streaming audio and video. The Handycast is on, we drop it on Tuesday nights. It's film study with Richard Dixon and myself. That goes for about 30-35 minutes. Richard also is a part of our show on Fridays from 10 to 11 on Fridays. We do nothing but LSU stuff. That's at Rufino's. And I'm on pre and post game show, which the year 25. So been at that a minute, and we're 5 hours prior to the game. And
time flies
until almost 2 a.m. This past weekend, and game time is similar. So be another late night. If you're caught in traffic on the way out, listen to us on Eagle 98.1.
We went early, so I got to catch you afterwards. And typically on the way home, I'm listening to you before we get started. Maybe we overlap maybe a little bit, but what I find is a lot of people watch all of them on Sunday.
Yeah, we do get a lot. And look, if you go out, now I know this was a road game, but you go out and you tailgate all day, you're stuck in traffic. It's a long day when you get home. And if it's a road game, even more so, hey, you had some cocktails, you had a big meal, you're really in the game, you're emotional. And when it's done, it's like, that's 11 o'clock. I've been at this for 12 hours. I'm going to bed, and I'll catch you. I understand we have a very nice following for people on their way to church, to and from the church on Sunday. So God bless the Tigers.
Richard Dixon is awesome. Love him. I remember going to Mississippi and interviewing him. I was looking for a place. I think we did it outside of a flower shop. I did a video interview with him on the fly when he was a high school recruit. And, of course, Travis, and I remember his dad. He's just great people.
Well, you know, he in addition to having become a great friend, I love working with him. He's a football lifer. You know, not only did his dad play SEC football, his grandfather played SEC football, and his brother played, of course, at LSU. So he's a football lifer, and now he's coaching his son. Who's in flag football. He's got a young son.
Does he ever talk about that area? Like, is it coming? Like, I mean, what Katrina did to the high school football down there was brutal.
His old school, Ocean Springs, has a hard time finding non-district competition because they have mowed over everybody. We were actually talking about that last week. Finding non-district games has been a challenge because they're that good. And I asked him, I said, they you know, you want to start scheduling out of state? I mean, one of the Louisiana schools, somebody out of the Catholic League in New Orleans or Catholic High out of, you know, or St. Thomas More, somebody like that, playing Ocean Springs would probably draw a crowd. They're really good.
It's going to take years, I think. You know,
now I can't speak to the rest of the area high school, but he tells me about Ocean Springs because he still keeps up with those guys, and they're really good.
Good. All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed the show, please hit the like button, follow, share. You know the drill. And thanks for tuning in. And we've got a lot on TigerBait. In fact, player interviews have probably totally wrapped up. That's about to be uploaded to the site. We'll have all those up for you and much more right here. So, all right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Good night.